Now, into the ticket office of Disneyland.
Oh boy, let's do this.
Don't think the CIA is going to be trying to hack your second-gen iPod.
I didn't think so. There might have been a lot of illegal music on there. I wouldn't doubt it. But, I mean...
You were supposed to bring death to the flagships, not join them.
Google has found a new way to piss me off.
iTunes is a constant source of embarrassment.
Behind-the-scenes camera crap.
May I present to you the cat?
I am the dog. Well, I can't do it anymore without laughing. I was going to do the whole thing. Welcome, everyone, to the Calling All Platforms podcast. I am your host, Wes, and I am here with Landon.
Hello.
And we do not have Caleb today.
At least not in his usual form.
Yeah, not in his usual form, actually. So, listener, life happens. Life happens where you're not able to be at a podcast. You got to do stuff with family, which, fair enough.
Yeah.
You got to do that. But, you know.
I can't blame him, but it doesn't mean I'm not mad at him.
But I mean, it's the perfect time to leave when it's, you know, he's our Apple guy and they just had an event.
Yeah.
So,
WWDC was today, and of course, you know, he's got to be gone.
He's got to be gone. So, but don't worry, listener. We did some magic tricks. We had him go ahead and record his thoughts and feelings throughout the event, or what he thought of the event. And so what we're going to do, I think we actually did this once or twice before, where he would record his reactions, and then we would play it, and then we'd talk about it.
Yeah.
And so we're going to do the same type of format here, and talk about the event and what we think, what we feel on all sorts of things. I watched two different things. So I watched the WWDC keynote in 18 minutes in one place and then 12 minutes in another. And it kind of summed up different features and things. So that's kind of how I watched it. I think Caleb said he watched the whole thing. Did you watch the whole thing?
I did watch the whole thing periodically throughout the day whenever I could find a couple minutes here and there to do it. But yes, so I do have thoughts on it. And
yeah. So this is what we're going to do. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to play the recording of Caleb. We're going to stop at certain stopping points so we can kind of talk about it and go from there. So until the very end. And that's going to be our episode for today. So, all right, Landon, go ahead and start it up.
Alrighty.
My apologies, listener, to not being able to record live with the guys this week. Summer schedules are hard, and this is a symptom of that. But I know that you'll be missing out on a ridiculous number of rants because of this, which I do regret. I'll be sure to make it up to you in the coming weeks.
And yes, we can guarantee that there will be rants. Listener, we've already listened to this, and we've got certain points that are going to, like Wes said, we're going to stop and give our comments, but there are times where you will hear the disgust in Caleb's voice. And
yes,
where there would have, if he were here, would have been a rant in those scenarios, but we will get those at a later date, and we will all enjoy them because we always do. We always love a good rant from Spenlove.
True.
Now, let's see if we can't summarize this event in a tenth the time that Apple spent on it. This WWDC started out with a skit, as per usual, which literally features the presenters jumping out of Air Force One and skydiving down to the Apple Park. Craig's helmet was excellent, but this honestly might fall behind Craig's parkour transition from iPadOS to macOS in terms of overall coolness.
No, listener, so if you haven't by chance watched the event or watched even just the intro, go watch the intro because it is fantastic. So like Caleb said, they're all in an airplane, like it's got Apple's original colors painted on it and different things, and Craig Federighi's up there and he's getting everyone hyped up for it, and then all of a sudden Phil, what's his last name? Phil Schiller. He's driving the plane, and he Craig looks over at him and he says, "Okay, it's time." And then Phil's like, "Oh, I'm getting too old for this." Then he looks over at an original iPod, starts playing Motley Crue on it.
Yeah.
And then it turns back around and all the Apple people that are there, including Craig, are in these big jumpsuits. Like they're ready to go skydiving, basically. Jump out of the plane.
Yeah.
and they're like it's mostly white jumpsuits with the original Apple colors and different things on them. It's pretty cool looking. Then they all put on helmets. Everyone jumps out. As everyone else is jumping out, Craig, Hair Force One, as he's called, because he's got the best hair at Apple by far. He puts on a helmet that matches his hair, and it's fantastic. Yes. And then the other part that Caleb is alluding to is going in between iOS and iPadOS. He does, well, I'm sure it's not him, but a stunt double probably that looks an awful lot like him and similar hair is jumping like between stairs, doing a bunch of parkour moves and stuff to a different level of Apple Park, and then going to a different operating system to talk about it. So it was pretty great, I thought, anyways.
It was pretty funny. I mean, definitely a different take on a keynote for something like this. So.
Well, it's funny because like the first thing I thought of when I saw it, I started watching, I was like, are they just trying to copy what Google did? Because when Google announced Google Glass, they actually had somebody skydive and live stream from a Google Glass his descent onto the building where they did the presentation, and then somebody else with Google Glass went on a motorcycle into the thing, and it was like a whole big deal. So that's what I initially thought of. This was a little different than that, but it was still pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. No, it was pretty cool to watch. It was funny because in the things I watched, I didn't see that. So when we first listened to this, he made that comment, and I kind of was confused. And Landon was like, "Here, let me show you what this is." So I watched it. I was pretty amused. It was pretty funny. So
they did talk about Apple TV Plus up front and showed a bunch of trailers for new shows and new seasons of popular shows like Silo and Severance. My takeaway is that they now seem to have a show or movie featuring just about every single Hollywood A-lister of like the past 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like the one that caught my eye was basically I don't know exactly. They didn't show a full preview of this movie, obviously. I don't even know what it was called. But it reminded me of like an Ocean's 11 or the Ocean's movies, because it had George Clooney and Brad Pitt in it. I'm like, okay, I might have to watch that because it's George Clooney and Brad Pitt. You gotta watch.
Yeah, I do like that one.
Moving on from there, they started out talking about their operating systems with visionOS 2. visionOS 2 feels like the second beta release for this product as opposed to an actual product release, but they are adding some new gestures, the ability to convert normal photos to 3D, and Mac Virtual Display is going to support ultra-wide displays later this year. Also, apparently they've got Canon making a lens specifically for recording spatial videos. Overall, it kind of seems like they're still trying to figure out how to justify people buying this thing.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah.
I will say, though, I did like the idea, like, so you can mirror your desktop or your laptop, in visionOS and have it make a bigger monitor. I do like the idea that they're making it like the way they put it is basically two 4K monitors, but like it's one giant wraparound display type thing. And I know a lot of people that use visionOS for that purpose have been asking for that. So I like that they're doing that, and it was really cool. And I am interested to see how people utilize this new Canon lens that you can shoot spatial video with. I mean, you can do it on an iPhone Pro device that has the 3 cameras and stuff, but I'm very curious to see how people use this Canon camera lens to get basically higher quality video from, because it's an actual DSLR versus an iPhone.
Right.
So I'm curious to see how that goes. And I mean, the benefit to that is you can also just use that as your regular camera and then just put the video up normally. But then if people are watching on visionOS, they can have the spatial video or whatever. It's interesting.
It is. I think it's pretty cool. Like I said, an excuse for someone to buy one.
Yeah.
Moving on to iOS. iOS 18 is going to be bringing additional levels of OS customization, allowing you to finally free place app icons and widgets on the home screen instead of just having them locked to the top left corner.
Finally.
I was wondering if you were going to comment on that.
I mean, he'll get into this more, and we'll get into this more, but it's basically the Androidification of iOS, more or less.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, the widgets was the first thing, and now the fact that you can basically put any app icon anywhere, and the way they like talked about it was, you've got this great background that, they showed a picture. It was like a picture of the guy's dog. He's like, you got this great picture as your background, but then when you open it up on the home screen, all your app icons are covering it. But now you can move your app icons around to showcase the same picture. I'm like, well, yeah, that's been a thing on Android since the very beginning. Come on. Why did it take so long to do this?
Because they now can say Apple Intelligence.
Well, I mean, that didn't... This is a lack of Apple Intelligence, in my opinion.
The home screen will now support dark mode, as well as automatic recoloring, so you can stop using that ridiculous shortcuts workaround to actually have thematically unified app icons.
This one also is a really cool feature, but it's interesting because, like, I use dark mode almost exclusively on my devices, and it does, like, especially folders in particular, like, it does show them on the home screen a little bit darker than if you were in light mode. But this, the way it showed it, makes it almost more drastic, I guess. And then the ability to basically change the color of any app icon. They have like a like, you can choose the color. Like, it'll offer you a color based on your background, so it'll kind of match. But all the app icons go on that little theme. It's very similar to what Android has been doing the last couple of years with the, what do they call it? And can't remember what they call it now. But it's basically like theming your whole system on your phone to how you want it to be. And Android has done it to where, like, it'll theme around your wallpaper if you wanted to, or you can choose. Like, it's basically the same thing that what Android has done for now a couple years. But it's nice that they're finally doing things like this to make your phone your phone. Very nice.
Yeah.
Control Center is getting a big update, supporting multiple control screens, adding gallery for browsing controls that can be added to the Control Center, and an API for devs to add controls for their apps. Lock screen controls, also known as the camera and flashlight buttons, can now also be swapped out. iOS privacy has been improved for situations where actual hardware access exists, like if you hand your phone to someone so they can make a call or watch a video. Apps can now be set to be locked, requiring re-authentication to open them, or even hidden, which will put them into a locked and obscured folder in the app drawer. You'll also have more control over how apps access your contacts, connected devices, and other hardware details.
I do like this, the ability to basically lock your phone into one app, because there are times where, I mean, most of the time for me, it's when I hand my phone over to my kids. I don't, like, they want to look at pictures or something. It's like, okay, you can look at pictures, but I don't want you to do anything else. And sometimes they'll just magically show up in some other app. Like, no, that's not what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
But it's also nice, like, if you're giving your phone, like, say you want if you're at a location, you want someone to take a picture for you, you can lock it in the camera so they can't get out of there with your phone,
Yeah.
So that is kind of nice. Things like this, I think, are definite benefits. And I think you can do something similar on Android, but I can't remember for sure. But more privacy and more things like this is always a good feature.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think it's pretty cool. And they set it up to where then they say when they lock it, it's Face ID. You can have the different types to unlock it too. Face ID.
Yeah, like if you were to try, if someone were to try and switch, like go to your home screen or go to a different app, it requires you to unlock the phone, whether you're using Face ID or your passcode or something like that. It requires that, so they can't just automatically switch to a different app without you knowing.
Right.
Messages has also been updated with features you're probably already used to in WhatsApp. Tapbacks can now be any emoji or sticker, and you can alter the text formatting and add text effects to the contents of your messages. You can also use satellite connectivity on certain iPhone models to send messages or texts, and you can schedule messages now, which honestly, how has it taken this long for that to be a feature?
It's funny because I didn't know that scheduling messages was a thing on other phones and platforms and different apps and whatnot, because it's never been a thing in Google Messages, like just the built-in. I always use the default messaging app for most things in general.
Yeah, same.
So it's I heard about it on a Samsung phone, like the default messages app on Samsung for a lot of years has been able to do that. I didn't learn about that till a few years ago. It's like, and ever since then, I've really wanted it. And finally, it's here on just built into the iMessages app, which is great. Now, I want Google to do that on Google Messages, but I don't know when that's going to happen. Maybe next year at I/O.
I'm sure it'll be soon, because once one starts doing one, the other one follows.
Yeah, pretty much. A lot of these type usability features do tend to jump back and forth between operating systems. But
Yeah.
I like that. I also, like Caleb said, so the tap back feature, that's basically like a reaction to an individual message within the Messages app. I do use that feature on a fairly regular basis. Like right now, there's 5 different options you can choose from. There's like a thumbs up, a heart, a thumbs down, exclamation point reaction, a haha reaction, or a question mark. And they're not emoji, they're just kind of basic. But after this update, you'll be able to react with any emoji, and it'll show in the style of what the emoji is. And
yeah,
I like that. I mean, like I said, I do use that on a fairly regular basis. So I like the ability to expand how you want to react to a message. It's always nice.
It was funny. So I think we talked about this a while ago. Like, I don't use a lot of these features, and I find out obviously when stuff like this comes up. So I was just messing before we recorded to see if Android has some of these, and I was like, oh yeah, I can do all this. This is actually kind of cool. Look, I have a bajillion of these emojis. So it's so funny. So yeah, apparently Android can do it on there, and they had another like photo emoji thing on there too. But
yeah,
I guess that's there you go. So I also learned things too it's fun, because then I'm like, wait, can I do this? Oh yes, I can. Or oh no, I can't. Like, oh, it's so bad sometimes with the mobile phone stuff. I'm like, I got LOL, and that's as far as I got sometimes, I feel.
Now, there is one thing that Caleb doesn't mention, and it was not mentioned in the keynote, but I did see this somewhere. I just read a headline. I didn't actually read the article about it because I didn't have time today. But
yeah,
I did see that Apple has confirmed RCS is coming to Messages sometime. I didn't read the article to know when, or if it's part of iOS 18, or if it's going to be updated in the summer. I don't know. But they did mention that RCS is coming at some point. So that's a good thing.
Cool.
So we won't have there's still going to be the green bubble situation, I'm sure. But they will be bringing RCS, so they will have better pictures across devices, better reactions across devices, just making it better for both iOS and Android users talking to each other, and that's always a good thing.
Yes, it is.
Now you don't have to buy your mom an iPhone, like Tim mentioned a while ago.
There you go.
There was also a slew of minor updates to some of the built-in apps. Mail is basically adding Google's multiple inbox sorting thing. Maps is adding hiking and other trail map data. And Wallet is adding a tap-to-share feature for transferring Apple Cash between devices without having to exchange phone numbers or anything like that.
That feature I thought was really cool. So the way it works is basically like how last year they updated AirDrop to where you can just hold two phones, the tops of the two phones together, and you can start an AirDrop thing that way instead of just, going through and clicking the different things to find AirDrop and whatnot. So it works the same way where you hold the two phones together and you can share, like you can send money to that person. Basically the same way you would do with Venmo or Zelle, or even inside of Apple Wallet, you can do that as well. But this just makes it a little bit easier to pay somebody a little faster, more or less. And I kind of like that feature.
It is anything that, like you said, don't have to have the phone number, just here. There's the money.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
Much
Good.
easier.
Journal is adding a bunch of stuff that, frankly, I'm amazed wasn't already there, like the ability to search entries. And they're adding a game mode to iOS to reduce background activity and lower Bluetooth latency for controllers and headphones while you're gaming. Also, they've redesigned the whole Photos app to make it more, quote-unquote, usable, which basically means you're going to have to get used to an entirely new way of using photos later this year for, honestly, very little benefit. It's prettier, I guess.
And so this whole time when they were doing the whole photo, like the new Photos app and stuff, I just watch them like, I don't fully understand what you're doing inside of there. That's a neat feature. I don't usually use Apple, like the Photos app on my phone. I use Google Photos for everything, like, because it automatically backs up for me inside of Google Photos. So, like, I just automatically myself go into Google Photos, and that's how I view photos. I don't use the default Photos app on my iPhone. So maybe I'll go into the new Photos app once this update comes out and try out some of these features. But to me, a lot of these features are already inside of Google Photos. So some of the things they were showing is like just more. Well, I guess the features are kind of already there in iOS as well. It's just a different layout. So like Caleb said, you're going to have to relearn how you use the Photos app because reasons.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like, make it look prettier. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
that's something you'll have to do and report back, I
Yeah.
guess. Or listener, if you have an Apple phone, I guess, or an iPhone, you'll definitely let us know. I
Yeah.
don't know.
AirPods are also going to be getting some software updates this year. They will be getting the ability to interact with Siri via shaking or nodding your head, as well as improved noise canceling for calls in noisy environments and a spatial audio API for games.
Now, that one I actually am curious about, like, because I use AirPods Pro on a very regular basis, pretty much every day. And there's not very often where, like, this the time that, or the thing that I would use Siri in this way is like the way they showed it is somebody was calling, and when somebody calls you and you have your AirPods in, it'll say, you're getting a call. Do you want to answer it? And right now you have to like double tap or something like that, or you can answer it on your watch or different things like that to answer the phone. But this makes it, or you can just say yes or no if you can do that. But this makes it so you can literally just either, if you don't want to answer it, you just shake your head. It uses the gyroscope in the headphones to know that. Or if you do want to answer it, you can nod up and down and it'll answer the phone. I actually really like that feature because I don't think I've ever just said yes or no. I don't talk to my devices on a fairly regular basis.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to try that out. And then also the better voice isolation. So like if you're in a relatively loud environment, you're on a phone call, it'll basically quiet out the background noise so the person on the other end can hear you better. And for me, I work in a relatively loud environment. And there are times where I do call people and I use my earbuds just because I'm trying to use my hands to do other stuff while I'm talking to them on the phone. So I am very curious to try this feature out and to see if it actually does make a difference or not. So I'm looking forward to that.
It is pretty cool. No, I obviously I don't have the AirPods, but that feature of nodding your head yes or no, I was like, dang, that's actually a pretty cool feature. I mean, for all intents and purposes.
Yeah, like the way they showed it off in the keynote was somebody was in a very crowded elevator and it said, Gam Gam is calling. Do you want to answer? And he looks around, shakes his head because he doesn't want to talk on the phone when all those people are around.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny.
It is cool.
tvOS is going to be adding an easier way to identify the actors or songs in whatever you happen to be watching, as well as a dialogue enhancement feature. Don't use that. Just get better speakers and tune them properly. Apple TV will soon support 21:9 aspect ratio output, and they've added a bunch more screensavers. Is that it? No game mode for TV? Okay.
Yeah, sorry, Caleb. No game mode for TV.
He's holding on to that.
Yeah, I do love the feature that you can you can just look up actors and actresses and even music that's playing on the show that you're watching.
Mm-hmm.
And the way this works on app, like if you're on an Apple TV device, you just swipe. I can't remember what they said, either up or down on the remote, and it'll pop up all the people that are on screen at the time, and you can select those people. It'll show a little side menu of different things about them, or the music. You can add the music to a playlist inside of Apple Music if you use that. Or if you're watching with other people, you can also do this on the Apple TV remote on your phone, so you don't have to put it up on the main screen that you're watching the show on. You can just do it on your phone. Also pretty cool. And I don't have an Apple TV, so I won't really be able to utilize this. I don't think it's going to be inside of the Apple TV app, but like there are so many times where I'm watching a TV show or a movie. I'm like, I swear I've seen this actor in something else, and I'll have to go to IMDb and look up that person, and then I'll scroll through, and then I'm like, oh yeah, that's where I've seen them, or things like that. So I actually think this feature is really cool. Again, I don't know if I would utilize it on the main screen very often, but the ability to do it on your phone as well is pretty cool. So I like that feature. I probably won't be able to utilize it because I don't have an Apple TV, but I like that they're making it easier to do that for those that do have an Apple TV.
Yeah, no, it is cool. I like that. Also, like in reverse of that, if like you're liking a show and you like the actor, you'd be like, oh, what else is this? I don't know who this is. No, discovering an actor. I want to see what else he or she does.
Yeah.
So I also like that idea.
watchOS. It's also a thing Apple makes. They talked about it. This year, watchOS is adding transformative workout tools that'll transform how you work out and help you transform yourself. None of which I paid any attention to. Sorry, Landon.
Honestly, to be fair, so I knew Caleb wouldn't pay attention to the Apple Watch stuff because he never does. He just doesn't care. He doesn't have an Apple Watch.
I'm just glad he calls it out and lets you know.
I know, that was funny. But honestly, listener, to be fair, I did pay somewhat attention to the Apple Watch stuff, and for me, there just wasn't it wasn't nearly as big of an update as Apple Watch OS was last year. Like all the biking stuff and like that stuff that I would use. I ride a bike on a fairly regular basis. I like that stuff. And then like they also added different cycle tracking. Like there was a lot of different stuff in last year's update. This one, it's kind of a minor update. There's just basically they're giving it more abilities to track different trends of how you're working out, how much effort you're putting in. You can go into the health app on either on your watch or on your phone, and you can say, okay, I just did this workout. It was like a moderate workout for me, or a hard workout for me, or easy. Like there's different, like 1 to 10, you can give it a rating, and then it can track, okay, this type of workout was a moderate one for you, but then down the road, if you're doing another workout, it'll automatically just, okay, this was obviously a heavier workout, so we're going to give it more like a harder time frame, and then it'll track different workouts that you've done, and you can say, okay, I'm either getting better or I'm starting to do easier and easier workouts, and it'll give you that trend, so you can kind of more utilize how consistent you're being, or if you want to step it up, you can start to step it up a little bit. It's actually kind of a cool feature, but again, I don't think that I will utilize it so much. Just because, I probably should work out more often, but I don't. Like I said, I liked the bike stuff that they added last year. That was kind of cool. But this stuff, it's probably one of the things that eventually I will start to use, just because it'll automatically start tracking this information. And then I just have to look at it, which is kind of handy. I do like that feature on the watch. It's just one of those that I'm not going to go out of my way to use it at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it seemed prettier, and on there. I guess also I'm on the other side of the fence. I'm with Google, and I've been actually with Fitbit, but Google bought Fitbit, and so of course I got the Google Pixel, and it's a lot of that same idea.
Yeah,
that they're trying to push for, and so but it's prettier, definitely.
Yeah, and honestly, I think I'm more interested to see what happens with the actual Apple Watch this next year, because this will be the 10th iteration of the Apple Watch. So everyone's expecting some sort of bigger update hardware-wise. I don't know if that means changes to what comes with the software with this newer version that they didn't announce today. But I'm definitely more curious about that in September when they announce the iPhone and Apple Watch. With that version of the watch, what's going to be different there? And they may be holding back because there's certain things that they can't do on current hardware that they will be able to do with the newer Apple Watch. I don't know. That's just me speculating. So don't hold your breath on that because you never know. But yeah. I'm more curious about that than I am with what they announced today for the watch.
Now, moving on to iPadOS. iPadOS 18 is going to be adding the same basic features as you get in iOS, from the home screen and control center to messages and mail. iPadOS will also be adding a floating tab bar to productivity apps that is basically just the menu bar at the top of the screen in macOS. Once again, just bringing things to the iPad that are going to make it better for productivity use cases, but not in any significant way. They're also adding a calculator, complete with an appropriately tongue-in-cheek introduction that includes a bunch of also appropriately math-focused features that I frankly didn't really understand.
He did mention the tongue-in-cheek introduction to the calculator app because, surprisingly, there's not been a calculator app on the iPad until now. Why? Nobody knows. Everyone's been asking. It's like, Apple, why? Like, yes, you can download third-party calculators for the iPad, and they work great. And most people, if they wanted a calculator on the iPad, did that. But now it's just built in. But there are some cool features, specifically for the iPad in the calculator app, where if you have an Apple Pencil, you can write out your equation, hit the equals sign, and then it'll automatically just calculate it for you into your handwriting. And that was kind of cool. And then you can change the parameters of that equation as you go along, and it'll change your answer. And I actually really liked some of the stuff. This would definitely be more used, I think more beneficial for those that are in school. Like, say you're in a college class, you're taking notes in a math class or something, and you just write down different things, and then it can help you with that. And I thought it was pretty cool.
I did too. I thought it would be, because you can, like I said, use the pen and scratch it out in your own scratch, and it would actually do it in real time. So 2 + 2 =, and then it would actually say 4. And then if you change the equation, it would just update, which is cool. And then we were talking a little bit before how nice it makes your penmanship for you, which we were saying that I have terrible penmanship, but guess what? So does Landon.
Yes.
iPad will also be getting improved handwriting features with Smart Script, which will not only let you handwrite notes with all of the existing benefits that are currently there, but now it makes your handwriting legible as you go. I'll bet good money it won't work on my handwriting, which is a shame, because it also has the ability to spell check your handwritten stuff.
And this is what Wes was just saying.
Yeah,
and we all agreed. I don't know if this would work on my handwriting, because my handwriting is awful. So I wish I could test this out, but I don't have an iPad that's new enough to be able to utilize this, or an Apple Pencil. So I can't try it out, but I want to. I might have to go into a store somewhere that has a newer iPad with an Apple Pencil that I can try out and just start writing and see if
this feature.
See if it understands what I'm saying, and it can, make it nice and legible, and people can actually read my handwriting. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Now, moving on to macOS. This year, macOS is going to be getting this Sequoia moniker, which I like. Sequoias are cool. macOS will be adding all of the messages, calculator, mail, and map stuff from iOS and iPadOS. A significant update to continuity is going to add iPhone mirroring, allowing you to view and control your iPhone wirelessly from your Mac. The phone remains locked, or in whatever state it was in before, and honestly, this looks kind of amazing, assuming it works as advertised.
This one I'm actually really also curious on, because the way they showcased it is the phone was in a completely different area. Like they said, maybe your phone is in your backpack somewhere and you're in your office or what. It's it can be somewhere else, and you can basically just pull up your phone on the screen and then do everything you normally would. They were showing it on a laptop, so you can, use the trackpad to scroll like you normally would on the screen and different things like that. It was really cool. But then also it was using continuity to like drag and drop things from the phone to your computer or vice versa. So like the way he showed it was like there was a video he wanted to put into a note that was on his phone. So the video was on his desktop. He exported the video and then just drag and dropped it onto the note, and then it put the video inside the note on his phone. And that was really cool. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how often I would fully utilize this, but I do like the ability to do that. And the other way they showed it, it was like if you have your phone charging and you have it in landscape mode, it shows I can't remember what they call it, but it has like a little clock display and on there and stuff when it's charging. And it kept it in that mode, but then you could do everything else on your quote unquote phone on your Mac and without changing anything on the physical device of your phone. I really liked it.
Yeah, it was very flawless. It, portrayed the way it was being portrayed. It was pretty cool seeing that too. So like you said, hopefully it's as good as they show it.
Yeah.
Also, holy crap, they're adding window snapping. We're only, a decade late on that feature? 15 years? It's a lot. Keychain is going to become a dedicated password app instead of a collection of haphazard integrated features across all of their operating systems so that it'll work more consistently like other password management apps you might be familiar with.
This feature I'm also really excited for because I was telling Wes beforehand, I use Bitwarden as my main default password manager app. And I love the fact that it is an app, but I also use iOS, or Apple Keychain for passwords on my iOS or on my Apple devices. But I also use Google Passwords for other things because I use Google for a lot of years. So I have passwords all over the place. And I mean, I do usually save all my passwords to all these locations. So, but I love the fact that it is a dedicated app like Bitwarden. So it's just easier to manage those things. Like inside of Google, it's a little more of a pain. I have to go into Chrome, either on my computer or on my phone, and then go through and manage passwords that way. Or as it is right now in iOS, I have to go into the settings app, scroll down the passwords and stuff. But having a dedicated app for that, both on my phone and on my computer, will make it a whole lot easier to be able to change those, like edit those passwords, or just, go in and manage different things inside of the passwords app. And I really like that they're breaking this out into its own separate thing. It'll just be a whole lot less convoluted and a lot easier to use.
Yeah, I agree with that. Same how I use it. Except I use my Microsoft account with passwords. That's my secondary. So yeah, I get what you're saying, and this is really, really good for people that use the Apple, their passkeys and all that stuff for data. So
absolutely.
Apple also says they're improving game support, and Baldur's Gate 3 is coming to Mac this year. But honestly, I'm still not seeing enough adoption for this to feel like developers are buying in. Apple, you need to bankroll some games.
Yeah. This, I mean, let's see, what's the Stadia? You gotta bankroll games.
Yeah.
A perfect example. If they want this to take off, I don't know, like, because they continue. It's funny because they continue to talk about, look, you can do this game here and these previous games on here, but there's not such a big thing on it. And I think, but they keep telling. I don't know if they're thinking, oh, we're Apple, everyone will just come flocking. I don't know. I just like Caleb said, you got to bankroll these things and expect to lose. I don't know, expect to lose money at the beginning, but so I agree with Caleb on that. But I mean, Baldur's Gate 3, I haven't played it, but I hear it's really good.
Yeah.
So,
and Apple has been trying to push gaming on the Mac for a few years, like probably 5 or 6 years, pretty heavily at this point. And
a lot more than they used to.
Yes, definitely a lot more than they used to. But it's been like a major part of the keynote. Like they had somebody from Ubisoft come out and talk, like they were on stage for probably 5 minutes talking about different stuff that they're doing to use macOS and whatnot, which is good. And they've done that in the past. But again, like Caleb said, developers aren't just throwing themselves at making sure their games work on macOS, because the community is still not there for that yet. I do think it will eventually happen, and I'd like that Apple is still trying to make it happen, because if they don't continue to try, it never will happen, i.e. Stadia. They kind of stopped, and so obviously it's not going to happen. But
yeah,
I do like that they're doing this. They also did mention how they're making it easier for developers. If they develop a game for macOS, they can more easily port these games to work on iPadOS or iOS. So they don't really have to change much of anything, if anything, to their games to just work across all of Apple's devices, which is also great, because then you're going to get full-fledged high-end games on your iPad or on your phone. And the developer doesn't have to do a whole lot of anything else to make it work. Like, obviously, there's going to be some tweaks and stuff, but Apple's making it easier for these developers to do that. And getting your game in more locations is, in general, a good thing. It's just, at the time, trying to find the audience in those locations is kind of hit or miss.
Got to make a big old deal with Microsoft to do something with Game Pass. Just be like, hey, you make a game, subscribe to Game Pass. These games, certain games, obviously, be more over to, you can put it over to Mac or something. Kind of interesting, or PlayStation or whoever,
right?
To bring it over to stuff that's there to, I don't know, because if they're wanting this gaming thing to push forward, you might have to partner with someone, or like Caleb said, really put some money into it.
I think between putting money towards things and actually partnering with a game developer to have a game launch, either have it launch exclusively at first on macOS, or have it launch with everything as well as macOS, because that's kind of the thing. Like, a lot of the games that they've brought to macOS the past few years and the showcased at these conferences have been games that have already been out for a year or two. Like, I mean, Baldur's Gate 3, it's been out for a while, but now it's coming to Mac. It's like, well, why didn't you work with these people beforehand to get it to launch on Mac, you know? I think doing things like that is going to be more beneficial, because then people is like, oh, I've already played that game here, so why would I just bring it over here? You know, it doesn't make sense for most gamers. It's like, oh, this game's already on my Mac, and I haven't played it yet. Okay, I'll download it there instead. So I think doing that's going to be beneficial.
If you had an option to game, because you don't have a gaming system really,
no,
would you take that on your Mac? I mean, honestly, would you try anything?
I mean, me personally, probably not, just because it's not my thing. But I know enough people that their main computer is going to be a Mac, but they have a console or a gaming PC to play games that might try. I mean, I don't know if Caleb would. He's the one more likely to ask about this, because again, he is that person that his main computer is a Mac, but he has a PC to game on. So it's like he could be in that crowd of, depending on if the game launches on macOS. You know, that's my thing. You need to launch the game in the location you want people to play it, not just hope that they haven't played it already and like, oh, I didn't play that game because it wasn't on macOS. No, nobody's doing that.
Yeah, we'd have to see. But like you said, money. Put the money into it if you want it.
Definitely.
Now, moving on to a collection of features that span their operating systems, Apple is also adding a bunch of AI features to their systems, and they're calling it AI, which in this case means Apple Intelligence. Because, I mean, let's be honest, of course it does. You'd be somehow disappointed if it didn't. That doesn't mean you can't feel even more disappointed that this is the timeline we live in, though.
So true. Of course it's Apple Intelligence.
Yep. I mean, I was telling Landon before, I was like, before we started recording, I was like, Apple Intelligence. When I first heard it, I was just like, man, they're just so up themselves to call it that. But I'm like, yeah, I guess that's Apple. Man.
Yeah, I mean, as they kept going along with that name, I don't hate it. It's not a bad name. I don't think this is going to be one of those that's up for worst tech name of the year or something like that. I do think it's not a bad name. It's just, like Caleb said, of course they're going to name it their own thing And it's
Yeah.
it's AI, Apple Intelligence. It just works, it's just kind of like, duh. Why wouldn't they do that?
True. But does that qualify to be one of the bad names on our yearly list here? Apple Intelligence?
See,
Tech name?
I personally
I don't know.
don't think so. I think, like I said, I think it's fine, but
You think it's okay?
I do.
I mean, yeah, I'd have to agree. I think it's okay. It works. I don't know. The way I took it, I was like, really? At the beginning, I was like, all right. But did I expect anything less? No.
Yeah, no.
Apple Intelligence is basically just an LLM that lives in the background of all of their apps, doing stuff like collating your notes and websites to give you summaries, customizing and generating content for your messages, or boosting the effectiveness of Siri. It's exactly what you've seen happening in Bing or Google. Based on the identified integration with ChatGPT, I would guess that the LLM on the back end is in fact just GPT-4, but I will grant that they do seem to be mostly doing a better job of security stuff, processing things mostly on device and using their own encrypted servers for cloud models.
So I didn't hear them. Well, okay, they didn't actually say that this, like, all these little features that they're adding to iOS and macOS and all this stuff was using. They didn't say what the back end of it was. Now, they did mention at the end that they have partnered with ChatGPT to do other stuff on top of this quote unquote Apple Intelligence. And they also said that they have plans to partner with other third party. They didn't mention names, but obviously like Gemini and different companies like that are working on this stuff. That, like, so if you're asking Siri, so a lot of this stuff was Siri's a lot smarter now and more, like the Apple Intelligence is built into Siri. And it reminded me a lot of what Android is, or what Google is doing inside of Android, where it's like you can do anything, use the AI stuff in any app on your screen, like, and it'll do it all on device. Like I said, like what Android is doing, and I like that. But they didn't mention any back end, like what the back end LLM was that was powering all this. But they did mention at the end of it that if you want to, you can utilize on top of this ChatGPT to do extra stuff. And it also asks you, like, if you're using Siri, it asks permission before you switch. So it's like, do you want me to use GPT to find this out for you? And it can do that. And then if you want to send a photo to it, it'll be like, do you want me to send this photo to ChatGPT? And it can do that. So the way I looked at it is it's using ChatGPT as a third-party type AI on top of what Apple is doing. Now, again, I don't know of anything, that I haven't seen anything anywhere that's saying that ChatGPT is the back end of this. I'm not saying that it's not. I just don't know for sure that it is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
at least how you explained it to me. How you said.
Yeah. So that's what I got out of this. Now, again, like Caleb said, they didn't mention it. I don't know that it's, like I said, I don't know that it's not ChatGPT, but the way they made it sound like, because they're also planning on partnering with other AI developers, that you could basically set up as your default outside of the device in AI service. So, like, you could use Gemini down the road or ChatGPT right now or whatever. So yeah. I'm sure more details about that will come out in the coming weeks. But as of right now, I don't know for sure that they are using ChatGPT as the back end of Apple Intelligence, as they call it.
Right. It's more giving you the option if you want to.
Right.
Honestly, I don't see these features making a big impact in people's lives. But at the very least, Apple seems to be aware of that. They spend a lot of time on this, but the features they introduced, they kind of pointed them out as minor improvements that will simplify a few interactions and enable a couple of fun moments. This, however, doesn't actually represent solutions to actual problems, seemingly confirming that, yeah, I was generally right about AI being a solution in search of a problem. And for the most part, that's kind of my takeaway from the whole event. Apple is making minor improvements and adding small, little nice-to-have features to their platforms across the board that don't make any big swings. These updates are the dictionary definition of iterative, and for the most part, that's okay. But it does kind of suggest that both the Vision Pro and AI features exist in this limbo technological solutions to problems that honestly nobody seems to be able to articulate. I don't mind iterative updates. What does bother me is that all this time, all this developer time, all of this development money Apple spends has been spent trying to generate solutions to problems that aren't problems instead of fixing actual basic issues, like redesigning the fetching settings app in macOS.
And that's the end of Caleb's thing about WWDC for 2024. I do mostly agree with what he said about the AI stuff. I do think they are adding some, like, a lot of the stuff they're adding is basically just being able to do certain things faster. Like I said, it's very similar to what Google is doing inside of Android and across their different services. It's just making it so you can do certain things a little bit quicker. There are going to be those things that, yes, that's a cool feature, but how many people are actually going to use it? I don't know. Like the writing suggestions, or like you can, if you're sending an email to a coworker, you can have it change. Like you can write it all out, and then you can use AI to change the way it sounds. Like if you wanted to sound more professional or more concise, or different things like that, you can do that, and it'll tweak what you wrote. It won't change what you wrote, but just tweak it to make it sound a different mood, I guess.
Yeah.
Like how often are people going to use that? I don't know. But they did also add the ability to, magic eraser inside of the Photos app. They called it something else, but the ability to delete something out of the background and it fills in the empty space for you. Finally, great option. I love it. Those type of features, to me, are things that will get utilized. Again, like Caleb said, a lot of these things are not solving any major problems, but some of these little things, like the Photos thing, are extremely beneficial. Again, not really solving a problem, but a nice feature to have. So, yes, I don't think that any of the AI stuff right now is game changing in any way, shape, or form to anybody, or at least to 90% of the people in the world. But they are nice features when you need them, in my opinion.
I would agree. I would agree with you on that. I think I've mentioned on the podcast, I don't use a lot of the features,
right?
Like that they keep iterating on, and so it is nice. It is cool. Once you start using those things, but like Caleb said, it's a solution without a problem at the moment.
Yeah,
with all of it, but hey, that's WWDC.
Yeah.
Everything there, and Apple Intelligence and everything. I did think it reminded me when we were talking about the readjusting your apps on the iPhone, readjusting your apps and everything. When I was watching it, I did remember, I was like, that was a Windows Phone feature. It's like, wow, it's nice to see that's come back full circle on that.
Yeah.
Hey. Thought that was funny, but well, that's the event, dear listener. That a lot of interesting things. If you have any comments you want us to look at, or if you want to say anything on that, you can let us know on social media and stuff. But that's everything. I think we're going to go ahead and end the episode there. We weren't going to talk about anything else. Just the event for this episode. Next week, we will be talking more on everything gaming, which I'm sure you've probably heard or seen something about, listener, because there's some big hitters that's happened. There's some hardware talks and things like that. So, and there's still more to come this week. So that's kind of how we usually do it on this podcast, is the week that everything's coming out for gaming of the WWDC. We usually do the WWDC first, and then do gaming the week after when all the gaming news is all wrapped up. So, and that's how we'll do it for next week. So, unless, Landon, do you have one more thing for us?
No, I don't.
Okay. Well, listener, like I said before, if you want to get a hold of us or have any comments or anything, you can on our social media platforms. You can also on our website at callingallplatforms.com. You can take a look at our YouTube channel there. Maybe Caleb might update it with something. Who knows? We'll see. Oh, there, I give him a hard time for that. All right, dear listener. Have a good week.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Calling All Platforms is a production of Supporter Sound Studios. To learn more about how you can support the podcast, go to www.patreon.com/callingallplatforms.